comments on the show. I'm sure, Chris, you can write your letters to Chris Davis, and we'll try to make the show better for you.
Square, Northeastern, don't ask the zip, I don't know.
And it's time.
Survey says.
The price is wrong, Bobby. For trivia.
Live from the ECAT studios in Northeastern Massachusetts, this is Tuesday Triviality. It's July 18th, 2023, and I'm your host and trivia master, Tim Poupolo, and it's time for trivia. Alright, I'd like to welcome you all to our third broadcast of this monthly game show. This marvelous reboot of a 1980s era call-in trivia TV show is thanks to our supporters and participants. Tonight's show is all general trivia with multiple categories represented in each round. So if you don't know music, maybe you know sports or history or potpourri. I would like to thank our loyal listeners and avid viewers. We're able to take this show into the 21st century now. And tonight's show is brought to you by Michael Associates Ltd. Located in Quincy, they specialize in real estate and financial services, including the private placement of federal housing tax credit partnerships to both individual and corporate investors. Alright, so let's get into the nitty-gritty of how this show and program works. If you're watching this as a rerun or on demand at a later date, you can always play along in spirit like any other television game show, like your favorite. If you're watching this live, however, you have the opportunity to participate right now and potentially win prizes. So when I read each question, you'll have a minute to send in your answers before I reveal the answer on air. There will be an on-screen timer countdown to help you along with that. So how can you do this? That is with our easy online answer sheet, which can either be pulled up in a computer browser via the link on your or on your smartphone via the link in your Facebook chat or the QR code that appear on the screen and you can find on the Facebook page here at ECAT. So if you follow that, whether you're watching this on a big screen, small screen, anything in between, we're all going to be using the same submission method. So be advised, Facebook comments, Zoom chat, and anything you yell at your TV screen or computer will be lost in the void. So if you want those answers to be counted, take the time now to follow that link or scan that QR code. When you have it up, before we begin, a couple important things, the important fields to fill out. You'll notice it's your name and your answer. Those are the big two. You'll keep resubmitting the same form for every question. So after you submit, you'll simply click Submit Another Response, and it brings up the same form blank again. There's also a non-required field at the bottom for an email address. You'll only need to fill that out once, hopefully the first question of the night, so that later on, if you are a winner, we'll be able to match your name with your previous email that you submitted to be able to contact you with your prizes. And if you want a little bit of a pro tip right here, put in your name before I read the question, because it'll help your response time, and in this game, speed is rewarded. For every question, the top 3 quickest correct answers, that's the key, are entered into that round's drawing. At the end of each round, a random name will be drawn from our winner pool. So what we're playing for tonight, there's going to be 3 rounds of gameplay, and each round has a prize to one lucky participant. So our round 1 winner will get a $50 gift card to the History Room Antique and Piano Center. They have antique collectibles for sale. Also piano tuning, the buying and selling of pianos, and music lessons as well. That's for round 1. Round 2, you'll have another $50 gift card. This one will be to Johnny Macaroni's. There are 2 locations in East Bridgewater, 3 total, with catering out of their Halifax location. And round 3 is another $50 gift card. This one goes to Fernandez Lumber and Home Center, right there on Depot Street, Southeastern. It's family owned and operated in Easton for over 60 years. So in order to max out your chances of winning one of these prizes, you'll need to be one of the top 3 answerers for each question. So if you are able to get that coveted spot, that means your name could be in the bag 8 times, because we'll have 8 questions in each round tonight. But the drawing will still be random, so you may have a 1 in 3 chance, but you never know. We're also going to keep this above the belt. Siri and Alexa are not valid members of your team or your brain trust, and only 1 answer per question per person. But there's no penalty to wrong answers, so if the timer is running out, throw something at the wall, see what sticks. Because it's something maybe simple as a number or a color, you never know. You could be that answerer number 3, not because you were the quickest, but just because you were one of the top 3 that actually got the answer correct. So now's your chance to get that answer form up and locked and loaded, because we're about to jump into the game. Like I said, this is all general trivia. You'll have about a minute before I reveal the answer and we move on, and there are prizes at the end of each round. So we'll be beginning now with round 1. We'll put a minute on the clock. Maestro, are we ready? Here we go. Round 1, question 1, up on the screen. The face of Frosted Flakes. What color is Tony the Tiger's only article of clothing? His bandana. Tony the Tiger. So it's been the same color. There's no trickery here. The original 1952 version of Tony the Tiger carried through to the modern day CGI commercial version of Tony the Tiger. He only has 1 article of clothing on his tiger body. It's a bandana. It is emblazoned with the word Tony, and it is a solid color. What color is Tony the Tiger's bandana? All right, we are getting some answers in right here. We're about halfway through. So just looking for a color right here for Tony the Tiger's bandana. Tony the Tiger's bandana, any color. All right, we're in the final 10 seconds. Like I said, there's no trickery here. He has never switched bandana colors as far as we know. So give us your best shot. Ooh, and that's time. So the answer is red. He has a red bandana. You may be confused because he has a blue nose, but it is a red bandana he's had through all iterations of his character. All right, question number 2. Question number 2, how many U.S. teaspoons are in 1 U.S. tablespoon? How many teaspoons are in a tablespoon? So, reasonably so, teaspoon is smaller than a tablespoon, and it goes into a tablespoon in an even number. So, how many teaspoons are in a tablespoon? Just looking for a number right here for question number 2. We're looking for how many teaspoons go into a tablespoon. And these are the US measurements, so the ones that you know in your kitchen. We're not going to be going off any odd variants of the teaspoon-tablespoon system. US imperial system, what we currently use. So if you're missing a tablespoon and you're making pancakes, how can you make up with that with just a teaspoon? I guess this could also be a survival hack. All right, and we're running out of time right here. So there we go. The answer is 3. There are exactly 3 teaspoons in 1 tablespoon. And so the teaspoon's original measurement is just 1/3 of a tablespoon. If you're looking at your set, you'll notice you have a half tablespoon, but you may be missing a little spoon that is labeled 1/3 tablespoon, because that instead will just be labeled 1 teaspoon. All right, moving on to question number 3. Question number 3, another chance right here. Krav Maga is a popular martial art that originates in what country? In what country does the martial art Krav Maga come from? That's what we're looking for right here. Krav Maga. It's a very popular martial art, and martial arts come from all over the world. So specifically, what country does Krav Maga come from? I believe the literal English translation just means contact combat. As simple as that. Just like karate means open hand or empty hand, contact combat is the translation of Krav Maga. But what country does it come from? All right, answers are coming in. We're looking for a country of origin right here. Country of origin for Krav Maga. And we're coming in to the last 10 seconds here. Krav Maga comes from what country? All right, and that's time. The correct answer was Israel. Israel. So that is actually the national martial art of Israel, and it was developed by Israeli Defense Forces, the IDF, and it was originally used to help teach aggression in combat. So Israel was the correct answer. That is the Israeli martial art. Question number 4. Question number 4. What classical composer created the music to the opera, The Magic Flute? The Magic Flute is a very popular, if you guess it, old opera. Later it was put to animation as well. But what classical composer created that? You probably know this classical composer. This composer is one of those top 3 or 4 that people know of. But the question is, can you pull that correct composer out of the hat? All right, and this is the music to The Magic Flute. I won't say the year it came out, because if you really know your composers, that could give it away. All right, again, you gotta think of those top composers. If you're coming up right now in the last 15 seconds, you might as well throw one of your favorite musical artists in your answer box. All right, 3, 2, and 1. All right, that's time. That is none other than Mozart. Mozart, Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart, wrote the music to The Magic Flute. Okay, so moving right along, we passed the halfway mark of round 1. Here's your question number 5. Since 2010, the world's tallest building has been the Burj Khalifa. In what country? So just looking for a country right here for question number 5. Question number 5, the Burj Khalifa has been the tallest building in the world for now 13 years running, until it is eventually dethroned by another building, as this list often does. The Empire State Building was once the world's tallest. The Sears Tower was once the world's tallest. But for the last 13 years, it has been the Burj Khalifa. A very tall skyscraper, as you could imagine. And we're looking for the country that it's from. So just give me the country. And if you're going to give the city, it better be the correct city in that country. Because, as we know, a lot of countries have economic capital, political capital, and other big cities. So the Burj Khalifa is the tallest building in the world. And if you wanted to visit it, where would you have to buy that plane ticket to? That's what we're wondering. All right, and that's time. That is the UAE, the United Arab Emirates. I also accepted Dubai because that is the city in the UAE, but the capital of the UAE is Abu Dhabi. So Abu Dhabi in the UAE wasn't acceptable. So either the Emirates, the Arab Emirates, or Dubai. Those were the acceptable answers for right there. All right, question number 6. Ooh, it was a nice fun one. Which Renaissance artist, immortalized as a Ninja Turtle, is very famous for sculpting the 17-foot masterpiece, the David? The David. So you can think about this one somewhat as a multiple choice for Renaissance artists immortalized as Ninja Turtles. One of them did the David. Which Ninja Turtle, so to speak, is the artist responsible for this masterpiece that we know as the David? Still on display. White marble, very, very good sculpture. Who did the David? That's what we want to know. right, so we're about halfway through right here. And as I said previously, since this one you have a quasi-multiple choice, if we're coming down to that wire, you might as well throw out just your favorite Ninja Turtle. And you got a 25% shot in the dark. All right, in the last 10 seconds here, the David. The David, you could probably picture that statue now. It's depicted all over the place. The David, 17 feet tall. That was a creation by none other than the nunchuck slinging Michelangelo. So Michelangelo, right there, did the David, 17 foot. Honorable mention to Donatello, who also made a sculpture called the David, but it was in dark metal and it stood only 5 feet tall. So the way the question's worded, unfortunately, no points to Donatello, who also titled something the David, but isn't the David in question. All right, question number 7. Question number 7, what pop music group was formed by the members Barry, Robin, and Maurice? Barry, Robin, and Maurice, right there, for question number 7. All right, we're looking for a pop music group right here. And these are the 3 members of that group who are the founding members as well. All right, we got our answers coming in. All right, get them in. Like I said, you want to be correct, but you also want to be one of the top 3 fastest correct answers. So, the 3 members one more time, Barry, Robin, and Maurice. Reasonably, this is not TLC or Destiny's Child, but what other trio music group has these 3 members? All right, and we're coming up in our final 10 seconds here. So get those juices flowing. All right, because that's time. So that pop music group is none other than the Bee Gees. The Bee Gees. So their full names is Barry, Robin, and Maurice Gibb. They are the Brothers Gibb, or the Bee Gees, which is where the name comes from. The Brothers Gibb, the Bee Gees. So this takes us to our final question in round 1. This is your last chance to get your name entered into the drawing before our break. So here we go. Question number 8. Fortune 500 company IBM stands for International what? International what? So I already gave you the I. I'm looking for the BM. And I just heard that. But BM, I'm looking for a 2-word answer. One of them begins with B, the other with M. And combined with the word international, that is what IBM stands for. So we're looking for IBM. Stands for what? You know, a lot of you may have a ThinkPad. You might even be watching this on one, and it just says IBM on it. But it doesn't spell out what it stands for. That's what trivia is all about, folks. Something that may not be useful in every day, but here, in this particular situation, knowing something like that could win you something fun. All right, and we're in our last 10 seconds. Looking for 2 words. One begins with a B, one begins with the M, and that is the second 2/3 of the acronym IBM. IBM stands for International Business Machines. Business machines is all you need to say. Business machines because they began in the infancy of computers when other business machines. It's all under one big umbrella. So it looks like we're in. We have our top answerers identified, and we're going to now take a quick break and enter you all into the pillowcase of wonders, in which I will draw out who our round 1 winner is. We'll be back in 1 minute to dish out that $50 gift card to the history room. So stay tuned, I'll be right back.
Don't have time to sit down and watch ECAT programs? Don't worry, ECAT has got you covered. That's right, ECAT has
Podcast!
Yes! ECAT Podcast Channel has your favorite shows that you could listen to. Whether you want to chill and listen to the Ron Van Dam Show and hear him talk about what's bothering him that day, or the show hosted by local legends Stephanie Weinstein and Meredith Keach, where they talk about anything and everything, or take a listen to the weekly news hosted by Jack Ryan and Abby Kitchenham. Stay tuned in with Tiger Talk hosted by Oliver Ames students. Community Forum is where their host Priscilla talks about all things Easton. Easton residents can also find government meetings about various topics. You can find the podcast on Podbean and all your favorite podcast platforms. Just by searching ECAT or the ECAT podcast, you can find it all. The ECAT podcast channel is powered by Podbean, so either in the car ride or walking around town, you can always catch what's going on with ECAT. Happy listening!
And we're back. All right, so let's round up round one. If you're one of the top 3 answers for each of those questions, you've been assigned a number in this bag. And let's draw right now to see who our round 1 winner is. All right. That would be answer number 12. And this goes to Amanda. All right, Amanda, you just won a $50 gift card to the History Room Antique and Piano Center. So that ought to be a fun shopping experience to see what kind of unique antiques or piano tuning needs or a music lesson. But you did have your email address in at least one of your answers, so you will be contacted. For everybody else, we're going to jump into round 2. Round 2, just like round 1, you'll use that same answer sheet. For folks just joining, this link to your answer sheet you can pull up with your computer via the link in the Facebook chat, or you could scan this QR code right down here in the corner of the screen with your phone to sort of multitask, have in your hand and send in as well. So you will need to use this universal submission form so that we can timestamp your answers down to the millisecond to determine these valuable prize winners. All right, so if you have that ready to go, round 2 works just like round 1. You'll still have a minute, and we'll still be scoring you the same way. This time around, we'll be playing for a $50 gift card to Johnny Macaroni's. So put on those thinking caps. It's time for some more triviality. Here is your round 2 question 1. Following a strong performance in the 2004 World Series, what Red Sox player became a villain when he signed a 4-year deal with the New York Yankees in 2005? So 2004, that was the year the curse was reversed. It was a very exciting year with a very together team. But one member of this World Series winning team then immediately signed a contract with the New York Yankees, sworn enemy of the Boston Red Sox. And as you'd expect, when a sworn enemy of the Boston Red Sox picks off a member of our curse reversing cohort, he becomes a Boston villain. So who was this Boston Red Sox player who then became a New York Yankee and was vilified? Just like when LeBron went down to Miami for the first time, I believe there was jersey burning. So if you were there, if you had one of these jerseys, maybe you don't anymore, because this was the last time he wore Boston Red Sox gear. All right, and that's time. That is none other than Johnny Damon. Johnny Damon, if you remember, the Boston Red Sox didn't have quite the same dress code, so he had long hair and a beard. The New York Yankees, however, do. So he then was sporting a buzz cut and a clean face, which made this transition even more jarring to Bostonians everywhere. All right, question number 2. Question number 2, what American pop band gave us the 1986 single, Walk Like an Egyptian? Walk Like an Egyptian, Way-O, Way-O. We're looking for the band that gave us that hit single in 1986. So you're probably familiar with the song. You may be less familiar with who sings that song. And that's what it's all about. So try to dig into that memory bank. See if you can remember that album art. Who sings Walk Like an Egyptian? Perhaps you can remember the music video in which the members of this group are all decked out like the Egyptians of the glyphs on the sides of the pyramids, of which their walks emulated. All right, we're coming in right here. All right, looks like we might know our 80s pop. Walk like an Egyptian. In the last 3 seconds here. All right, and that is time. That is none other than the Bangles. The Bangles. Right there. It's for number 2, the Bangles. Okay, so now we're going to move on to question number 3. Let's go from pop culture to some world culture right here. Minsk is the capital city of what landlocked European nation? Minsk. So you may know your U.S. state capitals. How well do you know your European national capitals? Minsk is the capital of what European nation? And if you need a hint, this is a landlocked nation. So a landlocked nation in Europe, of which Minsk is the capital city. And the time is ticking. Think long and hard about this one. Minsk. It may not be on the traveler's top guide of historic European cities to visit, but it still is a historic European city. I believe the name first popped up in the year 1036. So it's been an established city for just under 1,000 years. I wonder if they'll have a millennium celebration in Minsk in 2036. Minsk is the capital city of what European nation? All right, time is running out. Throw out a European nation because here comes your answer. It is Belarus. Belarus. Maybe this was fresher in your mind due to the recent news coming from that region of Europe, but Minsk is the capital city of Belarus. All right, so this takes us to question number 4. Switching gears yet again. What year did the original Shrek movie come out in theaters? Shrek. When this came out in theaters, it actually won the first Oscar for animated film. So that didn't go to any of those other Pixar hits. Shrek won the first animated film Oscar when they added it as a category the year that this year was considered. So we're just looking for a year for question number 4 right here. We're already at the halfway mark for question round number 2. All right, we got some good guesses coming in. Good guesses coming in here. What year did Shrek come out in theaters? I guess you could try to place yourself. Where were you when Shrek came out? In the last 5 seconds here. Here we go. Think long and hard. Throw out a year. Here we go. Here's your answer. Somebody once told me it was 2001. 2001. I believe it was May of 2001 that Shrek came out. So it still got those good early millennium vibes right there. May 2001, we were graced with Shrek. And then the subsequent years, we were graced with even more Shreks. So let's move right along into the back half of round 2 and the back half of the game. Therefore, if you were a mycologist, what would you study? If you were a mycologist, what would you study? And just letting it out there right now, I will not accept mycology as an answer. That is a cop-out. So mycology is not accepted as an answer right here. But if you were a mycologist, what would you study? I.e., what is mycology the study of? Mycology is the study of what? Okay, we're at the halfway mark, or coming up on the halfway mark right here for this question. We're looking for a field of study, of which ology means the study of. So if you can dissect that right there, it is mycology. What is mycology? If you were a mycologist, what would your fascination be? Yeah, no bad answers. No bad answers. That mycologist, what would you get your mycologist for their birthday? All right, well, the answer is mushrooms or fungi or fungus. Mycology is the study of fungus or fungi. So I guess if you were to give a gift to your mycologist, it would probably be some spores, I assume, that enjoy spores. So mushrooms or fungi, those are all acceptable answers right there. All right, moving right along, some earth sciences. The Earth's core is made mostly out of iron and what other metal? So if you're not familiar with earth sciences, the Earth has got multiple layers. We live on the crust of the Earth, and then we have the mantle and the inner mantle, which is liquid hot magma. So that magma is then swirling around a solid metal core that is the center of our planet. It is made out of metals, primarily two metals, iron and what? So for this question right here, we're looking for you to name a metal. A metal. And we're at the halfway mark right there as well. So 30 more seconds and the time is still running. Looking for a metal right here that couples with iron to make Earth's wonderful core. You always got to work on that core. All right, the 10-second warning. We are on our way right here. Earth's core is made mostly out of iron and what other metal? That other metal is nickel. Nickel. One way to think about that, if you remember your 3rd or 4th grade sciences, the 3 magnetic metals are iron, nickel, and cobalt. Iron and nickel being our core as magnetic metals, that is how we get our wonderful magnetic field that works wonderful things like a compass. So nickel is the pairing with iron to make our magnetic core. All right, moving right along to number 7 right here. Question number 7, Sigmund Freud's work defined 3 distinct parts of the human psyche. You have your ego, your superego, and what else? So we're looking for the 3rd part of the human psyche as defined by Sigmund Freud. He defined a lot of things. He even coined the term psychosexuality, but this doesn't have to do with those theories or his other questionable ones. This just has to do with what he sees the 3 parts of our psyche as. Everybody has an ego, everybody has a superego, and everybody has what else? What is the 3rd part of the human psyche according to Sigmund Freud's pivotal work? The ego, superego, and what is what we're looking for. So this is still taught in a lot of psychology. So your psychologist may take it with a grain of salt, but it's a very important work, and although it may not be still medical science to the day, it's still taught as something to consider in molding current scientific research. So that's our time right there. You have your ego, your superego, and the id. So that's the animalistic part. You have the ego, superego, and id right there. I do appreciate super duper ego as an answer, but not correct, unfortunately. All right, so here we go. Our final question for round 2, and it's a tough one, so think about this one hard. Which U.S. president has had the shortest time as chief of state without dying in office? So we may all know that we had some presidents that died, unfortunately, some within 30 days, some within a year, some within 2 years. But which U.S. president had the shortest time in office without dying? So someone that took the oath of office and then passed power legally to the next president and survived. So the shortest term in office. So it is a U.S. president we're looking for right here. So we have, 46 U.S. presidents, technically 45 because Grover Cleveland was president non-consecutively. So out of these 45 U.S. president names, you already have a few that you can nix right there, the double-termers. But who had the shortest term in office without dying? So who had the honor of being the shortest running chief of state of the U.S. and surviving. Yeah, it's an important distinction right there. And lived to tell the tale. Okay, and is that time right there? That is Gerald Ford. Gerald Ford was only in office from mid-1974 to January 1977. So he took over when Nixon resigned and only completed Nixon's term and didn't have anything thereafter. So one incomplete term for Gerald Ford is the shortest time in office without dying. So Gerald Ford was the answer, or just Ford would have done for that last question of round 2. So when we come back from our break, yet again, we'll be drawing another winner for another $50 gift card. So stay tuned, I'll be right back.
Good evening and welcome to another edition of For the Love of Words. After a 3-year hiatus, join me, John Holgerson, and
Priscilla Almquist Olson,
as we interview poets and musicians. Could you give the audience a little summary of your background as a child?
When I turned 7 or so, we were car bombed. That stuck out.
And have them share their love of words.
Sometimes I wonder, do you ever think of me?
a thin broth of moonlight caught in the trees spreads across the garden brush, so one side of every stick shimmers while the other sides melt into one another, a mass grave of cherry, pear, and pine.
For the Love of Words at 7 p.m. on Thursdays.
And we're back. All right, so now we're playing for Johnny Macaronis in East Bridgewater, Massachusetts and Halifax, Massachusetts. We have you all correlated with your names in this pillowcase of wonders. We're going to draw again, and everybody has an equal chance, so it is possible that we'll have the same winner all 3 rounds. That's just how randomness works, if they're up to the task, of course. So here we go. Answerer number 3, that is for submitting the bangles correctly. This goes to Carol. Carol, you are answerer number 3 right there, and you have just won your $50 gift card to Johnny Macaronis in East Bridgewater, 2 locations. So we also have your email here, so ECAT will be able to reach out to you so you can come and pick up your prize. Awesome, 2 rounds down, 2 $50 gift cards already handed out. Oh, what can get better than that? So actually, what can get better than that is a 3rd round right here with a 3rd $50 gift card on the line. So again, anybody joining us, now's your chance. If you've just been watching along in spirit and too coy to send in your answers, don't hold anything back. Even if they're all wrong, you might get that one chance in there, and that's all it takes. Because round 3, we're playing for a $50 gift card to Fernandes Lumber and Home Center. So this is a nice good one, a nice big one for round 3. Just like the first 2 rounds, you'll have a minute on the clock before I reveal the answer, and then it's too late, unfortunately. But you still have a good fighting chance. So get those answer sheets up. Preload your name in so that you can not reduce any, or you can reduce any time that takes, because sometimes a millisecond is the difference between answerer 3 and answerer 4. So here we go for round 3. On the screen, here we go. Which Rocky movie brought us the now iconic sports jam, Eye of the Tiger? Eye of the Tiger. So you can also think about this one as a long-form multiple choice. Because the first 5 Rocky movies are simply Rocky 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So you can simply just give me a number, and that would be a correct correlation to a Rocky movie. But specifically, you'll only get credit if you guess the correct Rocky movie that gave us the Eye of the Tiger. Eye of the Tiger, which Rocky movie did that come from? So, of course, there were more Rocky movies after Rocky V, Rocky Balboa, the Creed movies, but it's one of the first 5, one of the classic ones. Which Rocky movie did we have Eye of the Tiger by Survivor? And you know you did a good job writing a score when it can be played independently on the radio. So here we go. We got some good answers in. But the correct answer was Rocky 3. Rocky 3 right there. Eye of the Tiger. I believe Rocky 3 was against Clubber Lang with Mr. T. Rocky 4 was more popular with Ivan Drago, played by Dolph Lundgren, but Rocky 3 with Mr. T, we get two classic things from that movie. We get Eye of the Tiger and the line, "Pity the Fool." So thank you to Rocky 3. Question number 2, we're looking for another year here. In what year did O.J. Simpson captivate American TV audiences with a 50-mile highway chase in his white Ford Bronco from police helicopters? So this definitely captured top news because this police chase videoed by helicopters did take some while. It was 50 miles long. So this did happen in the summer, but the summer of what year? What year? Again, sort of like a Shrek. Try to guess where you were, or other notable events from that year, because that sort of may get lumped up together in a year in review. But what year did O.J. Simpson have that white Bronco police chase? Reasonably, the trial took several years after this, because there are preliminary hearings, there's sentencing hearings, or I guess there wasn't a sentencing hearing, but what year was the O.J. Simpson police chase live on TV? All right, looking for a year right here. We got a couple more seconds, and that's our time. The year was 1994. The month was June. So June 1994 is when that police chase happened with O.J. Simpson. All right, question number 3. Ooh, this one's kind of fun. Sir Walter Raleigh led 2 disastrous expeditions to find what lost city? So the city remains lost, unfortunately. We can only assume it is mythological at this point, but Sir Walter Raleigh was knighted nonetheless. But he did lead 2 disastrous expeditions to try to find what city? Unsuccessfully, of course. So we're looking for a city that Sir Walter Raleigh tried to find twice and lost a lot of men with nothing, really, to show for it. Looking for that city. And Sir Walter Raleigh, as a sir, he was well funded because this is something that you could only assume there was a lot of interest in finding a city of this stature. Here we go in the last 10 seconds, so we're coming up on 10 seconds here. Sir Walter Raleigh tried to find what city and failed twice, but hey, all water under the bridge. All right, and that's our time. That is El Dorado. El Dorado. They spared no expense because it'll pay for itself once you find a city made out of gold. We never did find that city made out of gold, but still waiting. If anybody wants to join me on a disastrous third expedition, be my guest. All right, here we go. Next question. Question number 4. What book was Mark Chapman carrying on his person when he was arrested for the assassination of John Lennon? So, you may know that Mark Chapman was the assassin of John Lennon. I believe the year was 1980 when Mark Chapman did fatally shoot John Lennon. And when he was nabbed by police and federal agents, he was carrying what book on his person? So this book was, so to speak, his manifesto. It was the reason why he did this and what he claims to be the influence of all his life decisions. So reasonably, people would think that this book would be a bad influence. But that's debatable. It's just a book. But what book was Mark Chapman carrying on his person when he was arrested for the assassination of John Lennon? I believe this book is preserved because it does have his psychotic scribblings in it. So I don't know if it's ever put up to auction or in a museum, but this is an infamous book now for more than that reason. And that book is The Catcher in the Rye. The Catcher in the Rye right there is the book on Mark Chapman's person, because that book really rallies against the phonies in the world. And he saw John Lennon as a phony that needs to go. This book was then banned from many schools and libraries, but it's no longer on that banned list, but it's up to each school district if they want to teach it. Catcher in the Rye right there. All right, question number 5. Question number 5. What are the twin cities that the Major League Baseball Minnesota Twins refer to? So right here, the Minnesota Twins don't belong to one city in particular. They belong to 2 cities, twin cities. And to get this one marked correct, you must get both cities correct. So this one's a little tough, a two-parter. There's no partial credit here. Full points or no points. Of course, spelling doesn't count, so do your darnest for all of these answers. I haven't been a stickler on spelling, punctuation, or capitalization. If I can figure out what you're trying to say, I'll try to get you those credit. I'm on your side. So we're looking for 2 cities here. You must get both of them correct. These are the twin cities of Minnesota, is how they're known. And it's the namesake of the Minnesota Twins. The Minnesota Twins. They're named for their twin cities, not for Remus and Romulus or any other famous twins. Fred and George Weasley, perhaps. The Twin Cities of Minnesota is what we're looking for. All right, we're coming in. We're coming in just under the wire. That is Minneapolis and St. Paul. Minneapolis and St. Paul. St. Paul being the capital city, but Minneapolis being its twin. And so they sort of share an economic center, and they touch, sort of like Boston and Cambridge. The line is blurred, if not for the Charles River here in Massachusetts. But Minneapolis and St. Paul are the twin cities of Minnesota. Question number 6. Ooh. What candy bar was named after the favorite horse of the Mars family? So reasonably, this is a candy bar owned by Mars Candies. So if you know your candies very well, you know you got your Hershey's, you got your Nestle, you got your Mars. We're looking for a Mars candy bar named specifically after the favorite horse of the Mars family. So there's a few different ways to think about this. You gotta parse out what candy bars do you remember from Halloween that are from the Mars Corporation, and you gotta also think which one is a good horse name. So it's not the other way around. I'm sure there's plenty of horses named after candy bars. Go to the Kentucky Derby, for instance. But this one is the other way around, a candy bar named after a horse. Candy bar named after a horse. Okay, we got some good guesses here. Good guesses coming in. Yeah, I guess there could also be some bad guesses, but nobody's throwing out some outrageous horse names here. But the correct answer is Snickers. Snickers. That sounds like a fun horse name. They loved their horse Snickers so much that they named a candy bar after it, Snickers. So Snickers is the correct answer. But the harder you think about candy bars, the more you realize that a lot of them also make pretty decent pet names. Save a few. All right, here we go. Coming right along to question number 7. We're looking for an English footwear brand that was founded by a World War II German doctor. So this footwear brand, you can sort of think about them all in your brain, footwear, but this is an English footwear brand made and founded by a World War II German doctor. So what is the name of this footwear brand? Popular in England, where it originates, but its history is of this World War II German doctor. So we're looking for a type of footwear. Yeah, try to think good. There's got to be a hint somewhere in the name right there. But a World War II German doctor, an English footwear brand. That's the brunt of it right here. All right. We got our answers coming in. Some good, some not so good, but that's okay. We have some correct, and I think If anybody can get another correct one under the wire, you'll still be counted. All right. So that would be none other than Doc Martens. Doc Martens, known for their leather engineering boot. Doc Marten was that German doctor, hence the Doc in it. So that might have been that little hint you were looking for. But there are other good German footwear brands like Adidas, named after Adi Dassler, another German, but not a doctor and not English. Okay, so this takes us to our final question right here. So think long and hard about this. This is your last chance to get your name entered in this pillowcase for our last drawing of the night. So here we go. Let's put up the last question on the screens. How many U.S. states have a land border with Canada, eh? So we're looking for this one. So it's a lot harder than how many states have a land border with Mexico. That you can visualize. Ooh, this one you're going to have to really think hard about. But if it comes too close, throw out a good educated guess. And also, we're only talking about land borders here. So I'm warning you right now, there are 2 states that don't have a land border, but they do have, it's not a sea border because it's the Great Lakes we're talking about. There are 2 states that only have a water barrier. So they don't count because they don't touch Canada by land. But how many U.S. states touch Canada? Looking for a number right here. So this one's a little tough. And I'm going to have to list them out. There's a lot, but you can tell just by having those little gears turning right here. All right, it's our time. So spit out a number. And hopefully you spit out the correct number. That is 11. That is Alaska. Can't forget about Alaska. That touches Canada as well. But Washington, Idaho, Montana, North Dakota, Minnesota, Michigan, New York, Vermont, New Hampshire, and Maine. So I think Alaska is that one that people forget. And it's Pennsylvania and Ohio that don't have a land border, but they do have an international border at sea. Right there. So that concludes round 3. We will be coming back in just about a minute with your final drawing. So don't go anywhere. You want to see if you're a winner. And we'll be back. Stay tuned.
In 2023, Easton is a tight-knit community of 25,000 people. But with the hustle and bustle of modern life, it's easy to forget our past. A time when Easton's population was 6,000.
Everybody knew who everybody was.
And there was respect.
There was respect for everyone.
When kids enjoyed great freedom and independence.
Everybody was poor at today's standards, but we all were in the same boat and we enjoyed life.
So join me, Priscilla Almquist Olsen, as I explore what makes Easton so very special with some of its lifetime residents.
I think Easton has so much to offer. And if you're living in a community, you have to know it.
Watch Growing Up in Easton Tuesdays at 7 p.m. and Friday at 9 p.m. See you then.
And we're back. All right, so we have everything ready to go for our final drawing. Before we do that, I want to thank you for being here for Tuesday Triviality. Again, we are playing for a $50 gift card right here to Fernandez Lumber and Home Center. So it's family owned and served Easton for over 60 years. All right, names are in the pillowcase. All right, answerer number 12 right there. Okay, that looks like it goes again to Amanda. Amanda, this is for being the first person to write Minneapolis and St. Paul. So you were the first of those correct ones right there. So that was the answer that got you this $50 gift card. So Amanda, congratulations. And I want to thank everybody. I'm your trivia master and host, Tim Poupolo. And until next time, stay curious, keep that curiosity, and come back for Tuesday Triviality. Until then, take care.